But I really believe that when you have some experience in the industry, things connect, and then you will instantly realize if you want to work with that or not. So I think look for this experience, even if you have to be working that like voluntarily. But I think it is really worthwhile.
Welcome to the Chemical Engineering Guys podcast, a show in which we share stories and tips from chemical and process engineers. We talk about student and professional life, as well as important aspects of products, processes, industries, and companies. But more importantly, what are the paths that these unique individuals are taking in this ever-changing world? Let's get started. So what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode on the Chemical Engineering Guys podcast. This time I'm with Bruno Ferreira, which is one of my students in the petrochemical course, but more importantly, he is now working as a process engineer. He's currently in the dream chemical company, BASF or BASF, and he's going to tell us how he got there. I don't know, Bruno, if you want to introduce yourself first, giving us all your current background. Where did you study it? I think you also made a exchange in USA. How was that as well? And whatever things you think are relevant for your introduction.
Okay, so hey guys, hi Emmanuel, thanks for the invitation. And yeah, just presenting myself a little bit. So I'm Bruno, I'm 26 years old, and I'm Brazilian. So I live in Northeast Brazil, in a city called Salvador. I'm a chemical engineer. I graduated in the Federal University of Bahia, which is my state here in Brazil. I graduated on 2017, and then I pretty much liked the course. In the beginning, I thought it would be like a lot of chemistry and that I would work in a lab. And then in the first semesters, I realized that lab wasn't actually something I would like to work in. So, but thankfully, I found out that the industry was a very nice place to work and that it would be a very logical future for a chemical engineer. So, during my university years, I have got a scholarship for studying for 1 year in the US, and then I have taken some chemical engineering courses in the University of Minnesota. It was very cold there. It was very very challenging in the beginning for me to be there, but it was a very nice experience, very challenging. And I also have done some courses in Cornell University during the summer. And then I came back to Brazil. I have done a 2 years internship in process engineering for Braskem, which is a petrochemical company here in Brazil. I was in a polyethylene plant. And then I graduated. My first job was in Paranapanema, which is a metallurgical company. I actually worked in the environmental plant of this complex, which produced sulfuric acid. And now I work at BASF, so almost 2 years now as a process engineer in a sodium polyacrylate plant, which is basically the powder that you see in the diapers that absorbs body fluids, let's say like this.
Too
Yeah,
technical.
yeah. Let me be technical. And yeah, actually, I entered in this job in a trainee program called Engineers for the Future. So I work as a process engineer, but I have the opportunity to do some job rotations in areas such as logistics, supply chain, controlling, maintenance. So it's been a very nice experience. But I think that's it for a presentation.
Okay, yeah, I think it's a very great CV for a 26-year-old guy.
Thanks.
I congratulate you. Actually, you have achieved a lot. I think you have been in very important, large companies. I know about the sorry about the name Paranema. How is it?
Paranapanema. It's a
Pa-
very Brazilian name. I mean,
uh,
very like
Panema. I
yeah.
saw it was one of the largest on its field. So
Uh-huh.
definitely, you have been in Braskem, which is also, for those guys that don't know, it's one of the biggest chemical company, oil and gas company in Brazil.
Uh-huh.
And BASF or BASF or BASF, if the Germans know it, is also literally the greatest company or the company that sells most of the chemicals and especially fine chemicals. So a great resume.
Yeah.
So before we continue directly with the job, I want to ask you, why did you started chemical engineering? Why not chemistry, or why not other type of engineering?
Um, when I was in high school, my I think that is pretty common for everyone that starts in chemical engineering. My favorite subjects were math, physics, and chemistry.
Yes,
So
true, true.
yeah, so I looked for a course that would have the combination of the three of them, and I knew that it would be one engineering, but the only engineering that really showed a minimum of chemistry was chemical engineering. So that was the reason I chose. And actually, I haven't been in a industry before, but I realized, I pictured that I would like to work in one. And yeah, I guess I was right, because the first time I visited an industrial plant, I just fell in love with it, and I thought with myself, okay, yeah, I really want to work in this environment for a while.
Do you remember the industry?
Yeah, it was Dow Chemical. So
Oh,
it was a
definitely,
nice start.
definitely a good start. Regarding the study or the subjects in chemical engineering, did you actually enjoy them, or did you just learn them because you knew you will be using them in the workplace?
Yeah, I mean, during most of the course, I really didn't know how it was to work in the industry or how it was to work as a chemical engineer. And I think that is a very bad flaw of chemical engineering courses, because they are very theoretical. And then at some point you think with yourself, I don't know if I want to be doing this for the rest of my life, because if it is to do calculations and see a lot of problems all the time, and not a practical thing, not a, you don't have the big picture when you are in the university, right? So but I really liked the courses, except chemistry. At some point I was like sick of it. I cannot handle that anymore, because it's like eight different chemistry courses in my university. So you have inorganic, physical chemistry,
Analytical.
analytical, general chemistry, and all the labs. And I was like, hey, I can't handle this anymore. And then the good
Yeah,
part starts, right? The transport
the
phenomena, unit operations.
thermo reactor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thermal is a little bit scaring, actually.
actually,
But
I think it's the subject that separates the engineers from the non-engineers. If someone says, "Ah,
probably,
I don't like how machine works. I'm not interested in energy, heat, work. I want to work with chemicals, or I want to go to the lab." That's when I see the most people will eventually change from chemical engineering to chemistry, or maybe even industrial engineering, mechanical engineering, and so on.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But for thermodynamics, I think also it is very, very, very theoretical. It is, at some point, it is hard for you to picture those equations and that theory in practice, until you learn a little bit about compressors and energy cycles, and then things become a little bit more clear. But at first, it is super hard,
Yeah, it's
and
strange.
yeah.
Is I think it's very important. It's one skill that they don't teach you as one skill, is to actually try to understand the world
Uh-huh.
without experimentation, rather with only theoretical concepts. And once you get to the machines, as you said, once you get to compressors and you start back and answering yourself backwards, like, why is not going full efficiency? And then you say, it's because I'm losing work, and how do I avoid that? And then you start doing it by yourself. You do all these thermodynamics experiments, which previously you were like, it's so boring. But now, because you want to improve the performance of the equipment, you start
Uh-huh.
going back into the background. So I think it's one skill which is kind of underrated, to be able to understand problems without actually going to the experimental part. But as you said, it's way easier with working with the unit operation or so.
Yeah, yeah, and one advice I would give to students, and that I would like to be given at the time, is that at some point the dots will connect. Because in the beginning and the middle of the course, you just think, okay, how can I mean, do those things have any relation with themselves? And then when you go to an industry plant, you just see everything connecting. So you have thermodynamics associated with process control, associated with unit operations, and then everything makes sense, and you realize why you had to study all of those things.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Even mass balance, energy balance,
yeah,
which
yeah.
seem very, I don't know, very strange at the beginning. But then
Uh-huh,
you get back and you're talking about kilos per month, per week,
uh-huh,
the raw materials, the byproducts, and then you start, as you said, all comes all together.
uh-huh.
So once you graduated, you said you got a internship to go to the USA. How did that
Yeah,
works, or I don't know, how did you got it? Can you explain us so maybe other fellow Brazilians can try it?
actually, my internship was in Brazil, but I studied for 1 year in the US. So my internship was actually here in Brazil.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
And the scholarship was the one in.
yeah, yeah. In the US, it was
Okay.
actually a government program here in Brazil
Oh, that's
called
great.
Science Without Borders. So it was a very nice program, and a lot of students from science and technology and engineering courses had that opportunity to be there for 1 year, and the government would pay for everything. So I wouldn't be able to do that if it wasn't for the scholarship. But unfortunately, the program is over now. So, but you have other ways of
Similar.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you have like those programs for Europe, for example. You have still the organization which is Fulbright or IIE.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know the full break. Yeah. Okay, so that was great. Did you had very great scores or grades, or how did what helped you to get that?
Actually, I had to write, I have to get some recommendation letters to in order to be accepted for the university in the US. Also, I had to prove that I had some level of proficiency in English, so I had to do the TOEFL test. It was a very hard one, actually. I had to prepare for a while in order to be able to do that and to get a good grade, because some universities required higher grades in the TOEFL, uh, such as Cornell, for example. And then I had to really be very prepared for the English part, and also I had to show a good grades, a good performance in the course.
Yeah,
Mostly that.
definitely. You don't
Yeah.
want to send, as government, you don't want to send the worst. You want to send
Yeah.
the better, the best. Well, that was, I think, very important. I would say, let me, well, you can say it later, but I think that's definitely something that companies see, that having a scholarship, as you stated, requires a lot of good English and good performance in school. And not only that, it means that you have experienced another country, you're open minded. You also have been in the US, which is also a very important hub for chemical engineers.
Yeah.
So, do you think it affects the overall, I don't know, profile that you have right now, or will you say it's not that impactful?
Oh, for sure. During my interviews for both my internship here in Brazil and for my first job and for BASF later, I had to prove my English proficiency. I had to show experiences. So those experiences gave me some tools to use in the interviews and in the selection processes. For example, in my selection process for BASF, since it is like a trainee program, I had like 800 people trying the process along with me. So I really had to show something different. I really had to show, and also it is a multinational company, so I think English is especially for Brazilian people, because here we speak Portuguese. So English, you have to pay for it. You have to really invest money and time to get a good English level and go to a selection process in a company like that. And in my day-to-day uh, uh, life, I talk in English and I write emails in English all the time because I have colleagues from other parts of the world. So for sure, all those experiences helped me get the opportunities that I have today.
Okay, yeah, I would say so as well. Companies say that you already, I don't know how to say it, maybe that someone vouched for you. So it's easier for the human resources recruiter to get your CV and say, well, maybe he actually deserves an interview. Let's
Yeah.
see if he's so cool as he says. Because then you will see very blank, or not blank, but very similar CVs that, okay, this guy went to chemical engineering, did nothing related to extracurriculars, has a maybe not so bad but not an excellent scoring, his English is not that well, so why would you invite him compared
Hmm.
to a candidate which is way better? So let's keep going with the part of, maybe you want to talk about Braskem internship. How was it? How do you got it?
Yeah, it was really nice. And it was a selection process, just like most of other companies. So I had a group dynamics, I had an interview. That is an interesting thing. During this whole selection process, they don't ask you any technical questions. So what you have to show is actually soft skills. So team spirit and communication, things that we usually don't practice a lot in the university, right? The courses focuses a lot on on the technical part, on calculations and on projects. Sometimes projects that you do by yourself, not in a group. So mainly the process, also because the process is taken by HR people. So they are not chemical engineers. They don't work in the industry in the production areas. So the selective process mainly looked for soft skills. But go on.
No, sorry, that's true. Soft skills are nowadays very important asset that you need to prepare, and as you stated, you cannot learn it in the university. So sorry
Yeah.
for the interruption. Please
No
continue.
problem. No problem. And this internship was very important for me actually because I was working with the process engineering team in this polyethylene plant. And it was my first experience in the plant. So I really loved the experience. And that was the moment when I realized that I liked to work in the industry and that I wanted to pursue a career in that area because the things I did there were very similar to the things I do today. So process tracking, optimization projects, daily talk with operations. I did like some alarm management tasks, for example. So really getting to know the daily routine of an operator of a production and process engineer. So I had a project of myself. So in this company, each intern had to present by the end of the internship a project. So I did a Six Sigma project to reduce the consumption of catalyst, and that was really nice because the catalyst was very expensive, so I could show in the end the savings of my project. And of course I had support from the engineers, but it was something that I could bring in the future for my interviews. Hey, I did a project there. I had some I could show ownership, I could apply the knowledge that I got in the university. So it was a very nice experience. And as an intern, you don't have much responsibilities, so you are able. It is more tolerable for you to make mistakes, and you are learning, and you have someone mentoring you. So it was a very good experience. I really, and it also made me love the petrochemicals part of chemical engineering because you have pharmaceuticals, you have even metallurgical. You have it is such a broad field of work and a field of interest, and I really could see petrochemicals, which is the heart, I guess, of the chemical industry, and very close to me. And it's funny because all the other experiences I had were nearby that, I mean, under the umbrella of petrochemicals, which is very, very, very
Yes,
broad.
exactly. It's huge. All the chemicals that are directly related, and all those indirect that maybe you wouldn't say they are related to petrochemicals, but they are. regarding this internship, how long was it? One semester? Was it full time? Did you got paid, or was it almost voluntarily? Was
No,
what?
no. Actually, here in Brazil, for some, in some universities, you have to, like, for example, in the US, you have the co-ops when you work full time. Here in Brazil, in some universities, they are very far from industrial areas, so you have to like separate one semester. You just don't take courses. You are interning all the time. You are working all the time. In my case, it was not like that because my university is like 50 kilometers from the industrial complex. So
50 of
50, 50,
so, so
50,
you
yeah.
how long did it takes to get you there? Like
Like
one.
40 minutes, 50 minutes, but I
Okay.
had to leave very early. But that's my life today still because I work in the same complex. It has a lot of companies because Braskem has a steam cracker. So all the other companies that are rely on the ethylene and propylene, they are there. So
Okay, yeah.
uh, we have a lot of opportunities in this part of Brazil because of this complex. But yeah, I was able, for example, to work half time, so the whole morning until like 2 p.m. And then I got the bus and went to the university, and I would have classes until night. It was very, very challenging and tiring. And I was like this for 2 years, but I was getting paid, which is great, and also I could study and work at the same time, so you can apply the things that you are studying. For example, I was studying process control, and I was able to apply that in my internship, for example. So I think that is the best of worlds, but it is very challenging. You get tired at some point.
That's true. It's very studying and working at the same time is typically very exhausting. You cannot do that forever.
Yeah.
Maybe 1 year, 2 years is, I would say, too much, maybe. But
Yeah.
you're a machine, man. Congratulations. I want to ask, is it normal for Brazilian students in chemical engineering, or maybe students in your city, to get those awesome internships, or do they, for example, in Mexico, it's kind of hard to get a cool internship, so you will end up in some engineering related internship, but not really a process or chemical engineering one. So how is it there?
It depends on the scenario. I mean, Brazil currently is passing through an economic and also political crisis, and also the pandemic, so all at once. But when I was finishing my graduation, situation was starting to get worse regarding to internships and job opportunities, but not still not in the bottom of the curve, you know. So if you had a nice communication skills, if you had a good performance on the university, it was not very hard to get an internship. Now I think it is harder, but as I said, this industrial complex is very big. So for people in my city specifically, it is easier. But and also because we didn't have a lot of chemical engineering courses in my city. So the companies really went to my university to look for students.
Okay.
And yeah, so that I think that is also an important thing. So if you are in a university that has some that is well seen by the market, you also have more points, right? It is easier for
Yeah,
you
an
to.
advantage.
Yeah, yeah.
S- So your city, would you say maybe even is, I don't know how to explain it, but is it easy for them if you just graduate from any engineering or related field for they to end up there? Well, my question is it not, I don't know how to explain it myself, but here we have a refinery and a lot of
Uh-huh.
people want to go there and end up there, but because the backwards happens that the company knows that many of they will have a pool of candidates,
Uh-huh.
so they will eventually decrease the pay, and because it's the comfort of people that they are already there starting and they go to that, does that happens there, or is a fair market compared to other places in Brazil?
No, I think it's fair compared to other places. It is very very similar situation from what you told, because here we have Petrobras, which is the a very big petroleum company here in South America, and Petrobras has some refineries here in the region. So you have a lot of other companies that are nearby because logistics are way cheaper, right? When you have your supplier nearby you. So you have the almost the whole petrochemical chain here in this part of Brazil. Of course, you don't have that only here, but in the northeast region, it is a very strong petrochemicals pool. So, yep, you they had a pool of candidates, but I really see uh, the salaries and payment as fair for an intern.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's great. That's great to hear.
yeah.
So let's talk about your Panama. Did I
Paranapanema.
Okay, I'm getting better, but
I
still
will manage
failing.
that for you.
Thank you, thank you. You were talking about sulfuric acid. I think
Yeah.
I usually I did this in a previous interview. We typically see in chemistry lots of processes which you say, it's very common or very easy to do that formula. Probably you're not going to use it in the workplace. But sulfuric acid, we all know the formula. We know it's an acid, strong acid.
Uh,
And I'm pretty sure many of students, maybe, or engineers know how it's produced, but they don't actually end up working with that. So can you explain us a little bit on how does it work and what eventually you work as a process engineer there?
Yeah, actually, it was a very challenging experience for me to work there because it is mainly a metallurgical company. So it is the only producer of copper here in Brazil. So it has a very strong market. But as a chemical engineer, I didn't have much opportunities there because as a metallurgical company, you had there a lot of metallurgical engineers. So they only actually they had two chemical plants inside, but it was really the minority of the site. It was a very big site. In that plant where I worked, it was the environmental plant because actually the main product of the company was the copper, not the sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid was like a nice way out for the off gases of the furnaces. So it was not a regular sulfuric acid process because in a lot of companies, especially fertilizers companies, you just buy the sulfur, like sulfur powder, and
Yes.
you burn it and you generate the SO2 that you will oxidize to SO3 and then absorb with water to turn into sulfuric acid. There, actually, they had a copper concentrate, but that copper concentrate had like 25% of copper and 30 or 40% of sulfur, and they were not interested in the sulfur. So when they put the copper concentrate in furnaces, and they had a lot of furnaces, that was in the metallurgical part of the site, they would generate a lot of SO2. SO2 with other bad stuff like mercury, like lead, a lot of heavy stuff that you would have to treat and you wouldn't be able to send to the atmosphere because of all the risks for people health. And then this sulfuric acid plant, a big part of the plant was a purification part, where you would remove all those heavy metals and leave only the SO2. And then you would go to a catalytic reactor where you would oxidize SO2 to SO3. Then you would have a lot of absorber towers where you would put mix SO3 with water and then you would get the sulfuric acid. But it is a really interesting technology because it is a node technology actually. So through time it was optimized a lot. And then you have a lot of energy integrations, and it's very interest technology, and the plant was very very big. So we would produce like almost 2,000 tons of sulfuric acid per day. And
What?
sulfuric
Oh, it's
acid,
huge.
yeah, and the sulfuric acid feeds chemical industry. So it is one indicator of the size of the chemical industry in a country. It is related to the production of sulfuric acid because it feeds a lot of different processes into the chemical industry. So it was a very nice experience, but challenging because I was like the only it was like me and other two chemical engineers among a lot of metallurgical engineers. So I really wanted to go back to a petrochemical company to be able to be in touch with petrochemicals again, because in my internship I was in a polyethylene plant. And then, I mean, I think I didn't like much the metallurgical environment and the mindset for metallurgical in a metallurgical industry. I think it's very different from petrochemicals.
Definitely. I think they are not that creative. They are, well, compared to chemical engineering, of course.
Yeah, also process safety is not as accurate, not as I think they have a different focus. They are way more focused on occupational risks. So occupational safety is very nice there, but I think what is very complex and exciting about chemical engineering is when you go to process safety, and you go to those interlocks and complex logics to really protect entire cities from the risks of explosion. I think the risks they make the chemical industry very exciting and very
Okay,
complex, and it also makes your responsibility as a process engineer way higher. but
that's
but I
true.
like
That's
that.
true.
Yeah,
From the metallurgy industry, it's also in your area.
yeah, yeah. It is not right in the middle of the industrial complex, because it is not related to the directly to the petrochemical companies there, but it is close to it,
Okay.
because we have also some mines not very far from here, and also this northeast region of Brazil, it is directly connected to the sea. So for you to send your products away with ships, it's way easier. So a lot of industrial companies are located nearby the sea here in Brazil, because it is easier not only for you to export things, but also to send things to other parts of Brazil, because our coast is very long.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It's very, very long. Yeah, it's huge. Your country is huge compared to all the other Latin American countries.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to know more into the shift that you did from your job in Panema.
Yep.
I did it. I did
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, great. So from there to BSF. So how did you were tired, or did the opportunity came to you? How did you decided to change? What did you did to make that change?
Yeah, I didn't see much opportunities for me in the that metallurgical company. I since that time I was really interested in have a leadership career. So I didn't see myself leaving a chemical engineer position to a production manager position, for example, or site manager in the future. So I'm really moved by challenges, and by I really like to plan my future some years ahead, and I didn't see much space for me there. So I was really I wanted to go back to the petrochemical part of that complex, and I also really liked my internship in Braskem, so I was also trying to go back to work there. And during that, I was like 1 year and 3 months in Paranapanema, and but when I was there, I was of course learning a lot, and it was a very good experience for me. Made me more mature for the job that I do today, and for the challenges that I faced at BASF in the beginning. But I was really looking for other opportunities at the time, and it was not a very easy moment for Brazilian market. Brazilian economy was already like going down. Today it's worse actually, also due to because of COVID and some political aspects. Our president is not a very nice guy, but I was looking for other opportunities, and then I got an interview at Braskem to work with ducts and with the tank farm, which is huge of Braskem, and at the same time this selective process for the engineers for the future program at BASF appeared. So I applied to both, and fortunately, I passed on both. So I had
That's
to
great.
choose.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, Bruno, when you say appear, what do you exactly mean? Did you send CVs? Did you check in LinkedIn? Did you got a email
Okay.
offer? Did you contacted some people in Braskem? Because I think that's very important. How do you get opportunities?
Uh-huh. Yeah. That is interesting because I have created a LinkedIn account when I was finishing my internship, and I really didn't think that I could get something through LinkedIn. But my position at Paranapanema, I got an invitation to an interview by LinkedIn. So, hey guys, really see more value on that because the recruiters are there. But for
That's true.
Braskem, yeah, but for Braskem and BASF, it was a little bit different. For Braskem, I had a lot of friends from my internship uh, days and also some engineers from there. So I got to know a lot of people there, and I was always saying, "Hey guys, if some opportunity pops up, let me know. I would be interested in coming back." And also my leader at the time, she like recommended me for that interview. So
Okay,
actually,
so
yeah, I was able to know the about the process, be selective process before it was shared externally. It was being done internally, and I got a chance to do an interview there because networking is very important, right? So during my internship, I was able to have some good network and to leave a nice image. So
impression, yeah,
yeah, a nice impression. I was able
definitely.
to.
I will say sorry for the
No, no
interruption,
problem.
Bruno, but leaving good impressions in jobs is very important, and especially when you're starting and you're looking for jobs or you
Yeah.
want them to, like as you stated, Braskem is huge company. Maybe you don't want to work currently as internship or in the area you were given, but definitely there are opportunities opening. And if you had a good relationship with your colleagues, or in this case your boss,
Uh huh.
they will consider you. And especially if you tell them, hey, I'm currently looking for opportunities, can you send my CV to the recruiter? It's way easier for them to do it,
Mhm.
and also the recruiter to accept it as a recommendation because it comes from someone inside the company
Yep.
than someone applying randomly. So that's definitely something to consider, Bruno. So sorry for the interruption.
No,
i
no
want
problem.
I want you to focus a little bit more in why did you select it BASF. I think it's pretty straightforward answer, but let me hear it from you.
Yeah, no, it was actually not very straightforward for me at the time because BASF is a really big company around the world. I think it is the largest, the that has more revenues in the chemical industry. It's very, very big, and it is in a lot of segments, not only petrochemicals. But in Brazil, and especially in my city, it was not such a big company. So if you see in the map, Braskem has like 9 or 10 plants, and one of them is the steam cracker, which is huge in this part of Brazil. But globally, BASF is way bigger, and BASF was a dream job for me all the time. And that plant where I work today, it was the biggest investment of BASF in South America. So the plant is like 5 years old. It is very, very new. Everything's shining, and you don't see much corrosion. And that plant, that sulfuric acid plant I worked in Paranapanema, had like 40 years. So it was not a very pretty vision you would have of the industry. But actually, Emmanuel, what really caught my attention at in BASF was the opportunity, the package that they could offer for me, because at Braskem I would be a process engineer, and okay, that would be fine for me, that would be great. But in BASF I would be a process engineer, but I would also have the opportunity to be seen like as a talent for the company, as a potential to leadership. So it was a program really oriented to find like future leaders for the company and to prepare them. So I had the opportunity not only to stay in process engineering, but to get to know maintenance, to get to know engineering, to get to know logistics, supply chain, for example. So I was really looking for that kind of experience, like a trainee, but an industrial trainee. So be able to get to know how would be my opportunities in the industry, because I really don't know if I want to be a process engineer for the rest of my life, to be in that field. And maybe opportunities can appear in other areas, such as logistics. So, and now I know how it is to work there, and I know if I would be happier going there or staying here in process engineering. So the whole package was actually better.
Okay, yeah, I think BASF and big companies, especially international ones, they tend to have better, as you said, it packages. It's not
Uh-huh.
only about the salary; it's also about the lifestyle, the work environment, and what they offer. They offer you in this case a position in which you can shine if you do it correctly. So definitely something to consider. That, that's always personal in my opinion. You need to know what, because it's not only about the job, it's also about the life balance that you're going to have. You need to move from cities, or the time you take to go there, the boss, the people there,
Uh-huh.
etc. So it's very hard to make a decision, but I will say BASF definitely a good company to work in. And what I want to know more is, how long have you been working there? And I also heard that you want to go to BASF, but in Germany. How do you plan to do that, or what what are your, let's say, your ideal plan or your bet to go there?
Yeah, so I'm at BSF since January from last year. So now it's almost 2 years that I'm there. And man, it has been a very nice experience. And in the beginning, it was challenging also because in the plant that I work today, which is the superabsorbent polymers plant, um, when I arrived there, a very experienced engineer was leaving to go to Germany. So I was arriving there. I had 1 week with this guy to like chat a little bit and get to know people and where documents were. And then he left, and I was there alone as the process engineer of the plant. So it was a very big responsibility. I had just turned into 25 years old. But my experience at Paranapanema was very important in order for me to be more calm in face of that challenge. So I really had to learn very fast how things worked there. But of course, I had a lot of support from my leader and also by technology team, which was in Belgium and Germany. Um, but yeah, it has been a very nice experience, and it is a plan for me to really enjoy that I am in a multinational company and to look for opportunities abroad. So if you have a very, very good performance and if you make good connections, at some point of your career, you can have the opportunity to be abroad for a while, to work like for 3 or 4 years there. So that is something that I plan for my career. It will take some time because I really have to show my value and to build the network. And I mean, they won't spend so much money with you sending you away if you don't, because it is an investment, right? So they expect to have the return of that you come back and you are a leadership, or you bring that experience that you had in the headquarters to Brazil. So it is a plan. I'm working on that. So I'm like putting a lot of effort in my work now. I have been receiving good feedback. It is nice for me. I mean, it seems that I'm going in the right way. And also, I will start to study German. I think actually it's not a prerequisite for that for you to have an expatriation in the company, but I really like to study idioms, to study other languages. So I have studied French and Spanish and English. I really like that, and but German is a tough one. So
Yeah, true story. Been
yeah.
there.
Oh, you have been there, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very, I don't know, I find it difficult then, because I also studied French,
Uh-huh.
English, and those, I don't know, were easier. German is a little bit more, let's say, unique. But as you stated, if you want to go there, you need to communicate and talk to other people. Even though the company might be international, when you go to the grocery shop or to the market, whatever place you go, you will need to learn the language. So congratulations if you start learning German. Good luck.
Thanks.
And yeah, Germany definitely is beautiful. I was there in Ludwigshafen. It was a
Really?
beautiful, yeah, but I didn't work there. I just went there
Okay.
for a interview,
Visiting.
which I didn't get in internship,
Uh-huh.
because as you stated, it's always a lot of people applying. The pools are huge. Like, well, you say 800. Maybe this was not 800, but definitely was about 50 to 70 people for one internship job.
Uh-huh.
And because everyone wants to go there, so it's the
Yeah.
plant, the site is huge, beautiful. And for me, because I went to other plants here in Mexico, and the difference is, well, you can see it on the streets. You see the streets in Mexico, and in Germany it's pretty similar approach. But anyways, Bruno, I want to know a little bit more for those guys that want to learn more on technical stuff. They want
Uh-huh.
to hear some chemical engineering content. So how does the process works? What do you do? What people do help you? Is it very automation or a lot of machines, or is operator based? How is the process?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Before I go into that, let me just advise you guys look for Ludwigshafen BASF site or complex in Google and you will see the size. It
It's
is something,
crazy.
yeah, it is like I used to say that it is like Disneyland for chemical engineers. Would you agree?
Exactly. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, but okay, about the things that I do in my job, the technical part which I also love. So I am in this acrylics complex. So basically, Braskem here in the in Camaçari, which is the where the complex is, it has a steam cracker, right? So it produces ethylene and propylene, for example, and then they sell propylene to BASF. And then in this site where I work to BASF, they have three plants. So they have an acrylic acid plant that uses the propylene to produce the acrylic acid. And then the acrylic acid plant not only sells to other companies the acrylic acid, but also sends the acrylic acid for the other two plants. They have a butyl acrylate plant. Butyl acrylate is used, for example, in paintings, adhesives, things like that. And they send another part of the acrylic acid to this hygiene plant, which is the sodium acrylate. So in this process, you mix sodium hydroxide with acrylic acid, and then you generate by a neutralization process the sodium acrylate. And then you have to polymerize that in a reactor, and then you have the a gel that you have to dry to break in very small fine powder. So you have sifters, you have roller mills, very different unit operations from what you see in the university, but they are very, very interesting. They are very mechanic. And then you will have this powder, which is used in the diapers, and it can absorb, for you to have an idea, more than 40 times its weight in urine. So it is amazing how it works. The whole chemistry behind is related to osmotic pressure. So get a look on that. You have a lot of salts inside, which are made of sodium salts, and then you have the urine that also have salts, but not as much. And then this difference in concentration of salts will create a pressure difference, and then this pressure difference will this osmotic pressure will pull, actually it will push the urine in, and then it will grow this particle. Uh, Basically, it is like this. I wish I could show you some pictures or some videos, but you can look for that, like in the YouTube, how diapers work, and then you see that happening. But it is very nice, Emmanuel, because in this process, you have to guarantee not only that the powder can absorb a lot of water, but also that it can retain, because otherwise, when the baby sits, all the liquid will go away, will be released from this powder, and then the baby will be wet, which is not very nice, neither for
No,
him nor for the parents.
true, true.
So yeah, so it's a very nice process because you have to balance the flexibility and also the strength of this molecule, which is like a cage. So this polymer is like a cage. It will retain the fluid inside. So it's very, very interesting, not a very common process when you look to petrochemicals industry. So actually BASF used it to treat this process as in hygiene care chemicals process, but now it is all connected in the C3 chain. So now I am in the petrochemicals part. And one nice
Okay.
thing is that I'm studying now, I'm doing like a job rotation in the acrylic acid plant, which is way more like chemical engineering applications and very much more like what we see in the course, which is distillation, extraction, things like that. So I'm very excited. I'm learning a little bit about the other parts of the chain. But yeah, you want to know how it is my day-to-day work, right? What I do
Yeah,
there.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. What? Yeah, essentially, what do students or other colleagues can expect? What do you do as a process engineer in that chemical plant?
Okay, so I think that the process engineering area is the more is like technical area, a more chemical engineering related area in the industry, because you really have to sum up all your knowledge about unit operations and transport phenomenon, and thermodynamics, energy and mass balances, engineering economics. You have to mix everything up in order to firstly understand the whole process, because you're going to be the one that will train operators. You're going to be the one who writes the procedure, the operation procedures. You will be tracking the process every day, all the variables. It's very much like an investigation work, like Sherlock Holmes. You have to be looking for all the variables and and when something bad occurs, for example, the plant shuts down because it is a continuous plant, of course. When the plant shuts down, or when a equipment breaks, or when your quality is not good and you produce off spec or residues, you have to investigate, look at all the data, all the variables, and figure out what happened, what is the root cause, and how you can give a solution, a technical solution or an operational solution, in order to avoid that problem from happening again. So
That's
mainly
true.
my work is to guarantee quality, to reduce costs, and to increase throughput. So you have to produce more with less cost and satisfy your customer. And that is what you do as a process engineer. And also when you have big problems, you are pushed to figure out what happened and why it happened. Of course, you have support, and you have to talk with a lot of people from different uh, knowledge, different backgrounds: the electrical engineer, the maintenance engineer, the environmental engineer, for example, and then technology guys, which know in more detail the concepts of the design. And for BSF, they are in Germany or Belgium, so they are not here with me. And that is also a challenge for me, because you have a multicultural environment. But mostly it is like this. It is a Sherlock Holmes work, I would say, and it is
So,
supervising everything.
so Bruno, how the percentage of distribution of you being in a office sitting down versus you going to the plant? What is it?
Yeah, my office is. I have a glass wall that separates me from the operators in the control room, so I'm very close to them. And I have just to go down some stairs, and I am in the plant, which it is funny because it is a closed plant. You cannot see the equipments outside, because you have to maintain everything dry and free of insects, for example, because you are in a hygiene process.
Mm,
But when I talk about the distribution, I would say that I am like 50% of my time in my desk or having meetings. Another 20%, I would say, talking with operators in the control room, because that is something that I haven't answered to you. It is a very instrumented plant. So you can see everything on your computer. You can see everything on the DCS, on the screen that the operator controls everything. So for you to have an idea, Emmanuel, it is a very big plant, but we have only one supervisor, one operator in the control room, and three operators in the field. But it's very, very big, very big. You have like more than 10 floors, because we enjoy a lot of the gravity force to send powder down,
okay.
so you don't have to energy costs. And this technology is actually the state of art, because the plant has just 5 years. So a lot of issues that you would have in the past, they were solved before the concept phase, the project phase, in the construction phase of this project. So yeah, I would say this. And then in the plant, actually going in the plant, I would say 10 to 20%. Because for example, during a turnaround, you go there because you want to see equipment open, you want to see how it is the condition of them. But mostly of the time, if you go to the plant, you won't see much because everything's closed, and mostly because it is a hygiene process. Um, it's not good for you to have like windows or in the equipment for you to see inside, because of the risk of contamination. So I would say today with COVID, I have been working from home like for 5 months for you to have an idea. And I am able to see everything that is happening in the process. I'm able to have meetings with everyone else, I mean, anywhere, and also to call the operators and discuss topics with them. It is not ideal, but just for you guys to know that you won't be like full time in the plant with the helmet seeing things. I mean, it's what we like to do, most like to do, but you can get a lot of data from your offs in your computer.
That's true, but I would say you are, let's say, lucky because, as
Yeah,
you stated, it's state of the art. It's a new chemical plant, as you stated. Maybe you were in Braskem, which was an older plant. Who
yeah,
knows? Maybe you wouldn't be able to get that so many data, and you will need to go often,
hmm,
maybe 2, 3 times a week, maybe, or maybe even daily, as if pandemia didn't exist. I would say it was a good call for you. Having this experience of managing a process online is, I think, the future. And with that comes the disadvantage of the human connection with the operator,
yeah, of course, yeah,
because I think one of my bosses hated that nowadays a lot of engineers want to fix everything with emails and chats,
uh-huh,
and he said, no, go there, tell him that, be angry if he fails, explain him why, and he will like improve the curve of learning for that job post in weeks.
uh-huh,
Whereas if you do it all via email or so, it's they can ignore it, or they can just simply say, I didn't understand quite
uh-huh.
perfectly what you were saying, or what you want to do, or your meaning. So that's something interesting that is going, I would say, to the future, but with you, it's current proof that it's right now happening.
Yeah, yeah, but I would totally agree with you because I see a lot of value in having a close connection with your operators because they teach you a lot of things. It is totally not the same thing to just see everything in your screen when you then to talk with the guy that really operates it like 24 hours a day. I mean, he's there during the weekends and he's there for 5 years and I'm there for less than 2 years. So they really teach me a lot of things. And so this contact is valuable, totally valuable.
Okay, Bruno. So I don't know if you want to add something else, or say some tips or so, or should we pass to the quick questions?
Yeah, before that, I would just say that if you guys are still studying or you are in the university of you have started working but not in a chemical engineering related position, for example, when you are interested in get to know more about the industry, or if you have that curiosity, really look for experiences, or look for networking that can talk to you about that. I mean, I really love to work in the industry, and I really think that every chemical engineering student should have at least like 1 week or 1 day experience in a plant because you stay like 5 years of your life studying, sometimes more time than that, but 5 years of your life studying a lot of concepts, and everything makes sense and it's very beautiful and very complex and interesting when you see the application of that. So that you don't study all that time for nothing. I mean, of course, other areas are very interesting, and also some areas are very underrated. Areas that a chemical engineer can work in the chemical companies. But I really believe that when you have some experience in the industry, things connect, and then you will instantly realize if you want to work with that or not. So I think look for this experience, even if you have to be working that like voluntarily. But I think it's really it is really worthwhile.
Definitely, I would say, as you stated, it should be a must to be in the industry. At least know, maybe you have been studying 3 4 years and you decide that you don't like that much
Uh,
working in a chemical plant. So instead of taking that much time studying, why not just go and see for yourself if you like the areas, what do you like, what you dislike. So Bruno, let's go to the quick questions.
okay.
I always like to ask the very first one because I try to change them, but this one is one of my favorites. What would you change from your student or bachelor life or moments?
Yeah, actually, I had a very good one. I made good friends. I was involved in a lot of activities, but I would get in touch with people from the industry earlier if I could, because I only I think that if I knew that what the industry was like, what the process engineer like life would be earlier, I would be more motivated in the first semesters. And I wasn't actually. But after the half of the course, when you really get to see the applications, and then you are way more motivated. But in the beginning, you just study calculus and algebra and chemistry and physics. You don't see the application, right? All other engineering students study basically the same thing. But if
Exactly.
yeah, if I could get in touch with people from the industry or do a course like your courses, for example, Emmanuel, like petrochemical course,
Thank
and
you.
see what it is and how complex it is and how you really will apply things that you are studying, I think I would be way more motivated.
Okay, that's a good one. Now, what would you remove from the syllabus or the content of your chemical engineering university title?
Uh, I don't have even to think too much about that. Linear algebra for sure, because I really don't use that nowadays. And some of the chemistries. I think I had too much chemistries
Okay.
for what I do today.
If you can add something or maybe several subjects, which one will they be?
Management topics, and I believe a lot of universities are adding those topics for chemical engineering courses syllabus, but I didn't have any management course. And it is important even for a chemical, even for a process engineer to get to know how a company works, because you have KPIs, you have indicators, you have to manage people and costs, and we don't learn that in the university. So I would add some management courses and also an instrumentation discipline. I didn't have that, and today I have to look for the time and study by myself. I would like to get to know
You
better the
mean
instruments,
okay,
and how to
like
read a PNID, instrumentation and project engineering more, like how
okay,
the
okay.
instruments work. Yeah.
Something that you think is underrated in chemical engineering? Maybe something that people say, nah, that's not that important, and it actually is, or maybe something that we say a lot and it's underrating the value of the actual thing.
I would say engineering economics, because everything that you propose there, you have to show that it is economically feasible. So it is totally underrated during at least in my university, it was very underrated, even by me at the time. And also some environmental topics, because you
Okay.
usually think that is like not that important, but when you are in the company in the industry, you will always have wastewater, you will always have water treatment, and you have to understand a little bit of those things.
Okay, this one. Who is chemical engineering for?
I think it is for someone which is curious and passionate about challenges and some complexity. So don't expect to find easy stuff. It will be complex, you will be challenged all the time, and you have to be curious because you have to look for the answers. They won't give that for you.
Which was the chemical engineering subject that you hated the most?
Hated the most? Yeah, I have said about algebra in some of the chemistries. For example, organic chemistry. Today I work in a process that produces an organic compound. But during my organic chemistry courses, I was just learning the mechanisms of reaction. I don't use that today. I could. learn more about the applications of that, and I didn't. So I think I really didn't like uh, organic chemistry in the university, and also linear algebra. That is really something that I don't understand why I had to learn that.
Okay, okay. I get you. Nice. Let's go to professional life quick questions.
Okay.
Now, did you had any type of job, like I don't know, maybe waiting tables or so, before your internship in Braskem?
Yeah, it was not actually a job, but it was a group in my a student association that was called Junior Enterprise. I don't know if you have that in Mexico, but it's like when the students go together and they found that they have like a company, a consulting company inside the university, and they have it is known. Um, it's not interested in profit, but mostly in train uh, the guys in provide learning about management topics. And there I was the human resources guy, so it was really out of the technical topics, but it really showed me that I liked management things, and today it makes a lot of sense with the path that I want to go in my career. So in the junior enterprise I worked in HR, for you guys to have an idea.
Okay, that's. I think I'm not sure if we have it, but I've heard about it, but I don't know how much. Sorry, how it works. So maybe I will later on have a dive and check out what is juniors. How was it? Enterprise?
uh, the name, you mean?
Yeah, the junior enterprises
Yeah,
global.
junior
Okay.
enterprises. Yeah, you have a lot of them in Brazil. It is a very
Per-
popular extracurricular activity.
Okay, so let's pass to the second question in professional life. So let's say that you are a boss and you need to hire a recently graduated chemical engineer. What would you expect from him since the beginning? Interview, at the workplace, as a colleague?
Yeah, I would expect curiosity. So the will to learn, and also I would expect good communication skills, because and also some team spirit, because I think those are the most important skills for a chemical engineer. So he or she has to be a quick learner, he has to have good communication, and also he has to be able to work in a group, in a team.
Okay. The wait for it. Worst skills that chemical engineers have.
uh, t- Uh, that is a very easy one to say. The worst skill that you might have is to be that really technical guy that you will talk like in Greek with everyone and no one will understand what you say, because you cannot adapt your communication to different public. I mean, you as a process engineer, I deal most of the time with non-chemical engineers. So I have to translate things for them. I cannot
That's
be like that bossy person that is saying a lot of things that nobody understands, because you won't gain anything with that.
exactly explaining him the maybe to an operator that is not well trained in fluid
Uh-huh.
dynamics and saying him, oh, remember the drop in pressure according to the
Yeah.
velocity changes. That will
Yeah.
be something like, yeah, good for
No.
you, guy, but
And
fix it.
and also, Emmanuel, when you go up, so the boss of your boss, for example, probably won't be a very technical person, and sometimes it's not even an engineer. And you need to translate things to him or to her, because they will give you money to do your projects. So you have to be able to translate things and to adapt your communication. It's very
That's
important.
true. Yeah, communication is definitely something. So one soft skill that must be either already in you or you must develop it.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay, so one dream job that you have that you say, maybe if I bring you a magic lamp and I tell you what what is your dream job, it can be related to chemical engineering or non-related.
Yeah, actually, I could say, and it is totally true, that I am in my dream job right now, at least in my dream company, because it is a very big company, a very uh, traditional one for the chemical industry. But I would think that my dream job or my dream position would be to be an industrial leader. I mean, to be able to coordinate technical teams, to coordinate operation teams. So I really work for that. I'm looking for getting knowledge in not only technical things but also in some interpersonal soft skills in order to get that. But I think that I'm already in the right place and working to go to the right position.
Okay, this question is a little bit random. Have you used Laplace transforms in your job or any job?
No, no. I really like it, process control, but totally, the things that I learned there, don't actually apply in practice. I think I will, and also even the guys that fine tune the control loops, they
They
don't
want you
use.
to,
Yeah, yeah, they use like tables. They try and see what's happened. It's more
like,
like a trial and error thing.
and
To
yeah,
yeah.
that's true, that's true. But I was curious. I'm still waiting for a engineer to tell me
It
that
should
he
be
has been
hard.
using it.
Should be
Yeah.
hard to find that guy.
Mm, quick tips for resumes or curriculums when the students or maybe already graduated engineers are looking for jobs, what they should have or should not have.
Yeah, something that really worked for me. I have tried a lot of selection processes, and in a lot of them I got negatives. I wasn't approved in all of them, but the ones that I was approved, two things that I did. I made a specific curriculum to that position, so I had a lot of experiences, but I really left there or gave more emphasis to the ones that would be interesting to that position. So you have to be strategic of with the information you put there. You don't have to put like tons of information, but the information that they are looking for. And also, one thing that was really nice is that I use it to write a motivation letter and send along with the CV. So because the
Okay,
motivation letter is more personal, you can show more your enthusiasm in working in that company, and then you do some research about that company, and it's more like a conversation. I cannot guarantee that they will always read that because sometimes they receive lots of CVs. But when you go to the interview step, most of the times the leaders are with your motivation letter in their hands and they have read some things so they can do more specific questions for you. I think you gain some points when you do that. You show that you were preparing specifically for that position.
that's true. And it also shows how well you can communicate in a written way.
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes it's very hard to be able to communicate that, especially in other languages.
Uh-huh. Totally.
And one final question on professional life. Do you think there is a future in chemical engineering? Because I don't know about you, but I go online and I see a lot of students or high school students asking if chemical engineering is still, let's say, an updated bachelor. So, what do you say to that?
No, I really believe that chemical engineering will stay for a while. I think that the curriculums, the syllabus will have to be updated with time. So um, I think the courses are not prepared for the type of engineer that the market needs now, and for sure not for the type of engineer that the market needs for the future. But the whole amount of knowledge and amount of things that you have to know in order to work in a chemical industry, you will always need to know them because you have to know how to design or to operate or to troubleshoot some of those equipment. So I really believe that chemical engineering is here for a while. And also I would say, maybe not for a process engineering position. I don't know. Maybe a robot will be able to do what I do in the future. But you see now in BASF, for example, you have chemical engineers working in supply chain. They are in the leadership. They are working in maintenance. They are working in process engineering. They are working in logistics, environmental positions. I mean, in the chemical industry, I think you are the most desired guy because you know about the product. You know about what is happening there. So, and with digitalization, I think you will need to have people to not only anymore to pull out data, but to analyze data, to have conclusions and propose solutions based on data. So I think digitalization came to help chemical engineering, not to substitute us.
True. I also will say the same. Chemical engineers are still updated. Well, maybe not updated, but the main idea is to solve problems. That's the task of any engineer in any field.
Uh-huh.
So if the problem right now is that you are not seen as a updated asset, you need to update by yourself. So I
Yeah.
totally agree with what you said about the curriculums or syllabus. They are based on a chemical engineer profile, which maybe was correct at 30, 40 years ago, which was mostly into manufacturing chemicals. But right now, there's a lot of things happening. A lot of industries have been created. So definitely, they need to be updated. And I think they are gradually trying to add, as you said, some project management classes or lectures. So they are trying to get along. But I think the industry is running way faster as the universities. So let's see what happens in the medium to long run.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay, and some random facts questions. Do you have a hobby or hobbies, and what are they?
Yeah, I really like to read, especially fiction, science fiction. I really like to read in my free time. I really like movies. So Uh, I'm very sad that I'm not being able to go to the movie theaters now because of the pandemics, but I'm reading a lot. And also, one thing that I really like is to study languages and to talk. I think you have realized that. I
Yeah,
really like
true.
to talk and I like to learn new languages. I like to hear someone from other parts of the world and understand them. So those are some hobbies I have.
Coffee, tea, or energy drink at the workplace?
I would say none. I would say a good night of sleep solves the problem. When you are
Uh,
able to sleep.
True. That's a hard one, but yeah, I will agree. If you can sleep, try to sleep.
Yeah.
Okay, Bruno. Well, that was the last question I wanted to ask you. I'm really happy that you decided to join us. Thank you for taking
Thank
this
you.
time. I know that 1 hour, or a little bit more than 1 hour, is on Friday night can be spent better, but I'm sure that you enjoyed. Hopefully, I did enjoy this show, the episode, and a lot of uh, curiosities on how other engineers look like for process engineering. I really appreciate that you show us what do they do, what do you actually use, what you are not using, and so on. So I don't know,
Mhm.
you want to say some of your contact details, maybe in LinkedIn or your Instagram, email, whatever contact,
Yeah.
if you want to. If you don't want to, make no worries, just say goodbye.
Okay. No, actually, I can. It's kind of hard to spell them here on the audio. I can send you, but my LinkedIn is Bruno Ferreira de Oliveira. For the guys that are not from Brazil, they don't speak Portuguese. Maybe it is hard to spell, but I will send you my information later. And also, my Instagram account is, I will spell it, BFERREIRADO. So look for that if you want to talk or if you have some questions about what I do, about how it is to be a chemical engineer. Feel free to contact me. I'm very happy to participate today, Emmanuel. Thank you for the invitation. I really appreciate your content. I'm loving the petrochemicals course, and I really intend to do other courses in your page and to keep following the things that you post. It's a very nice work, and I think it can help a lot of students. So thanks a lot for the invitation. And actually, it is a nice thing to do on a Friday night if you are if you are on a quarantine and you cannot go out from your home. So don't worry about that.
Great, great. Me too. I think it's something interesting to do.
Yeah.
So, Bruno, definitely I will be adding all the data on the blog post, but many people just hear this, so it might be a little bit hard. So, for all those that want to actually check out for the contact, I usually post let's say, a blog post related to the episode, and there I will be adding all the contact information that Bruno just stated. So, guys, I just want to say goodbye and we'll see you in other episodes.
Bye, guys. Have a good night.
Thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the episode. And before you go, I will really appreciate it if you take the time to share this podcast with your fellow colleagues, classmates, friends, or really anyone that might be interested on the topic of chemical engineering and its related fields. If you found this content helpful and valuable, please consider subscribing, rating, and leaving a review. Thank you so much for your support. It really means a lot.